the Tandy, or in this case Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 100 computer, which according to the A to Z of computing from 1984 to 1985 cost, for the 8K model, and this is the 24K model, but in the 8K model was £499, and the specifications is 2.4 megahertz 8085 processor, which is an Intel processor, 8-bit, cassette interface, 8K or 24K as standard, maximum of 32K, 40 by 8 character LCD display, monochrome, 240 by 64 pixel display, basic language included, the keyboard, the proper QWERTY keyboard, 56 keys, 8 function keys, 4 cursors, word processing type, standard cassette interface, storage, and RS-232C and parallel ports, and it's monolithic sound generator, and the dimensions 300 by 215 by 50, so it's maximum up to 32K of memory, printer via interface provided, and a barcode wand built-in interface, and a built-in modem as well. Let's take a look around the computer. So like I say, it's a proper keyboard, nice keys, and it's got the function keys and the cursor keys over here. Then the LCD display is here, and the low battery indicator because it can run on 4 AA batteries. Caps lock is a latch-in key, and so is the numlock key down there is latch-in. So when numlock's on, you can use the numeric keypad, which is over the top of these keys here. On this side, there's no interface. I'm not sure what that interface is. On the back, there's the cassette interface. That would be the built-in modem, but this actual computer doesn't have built-in modem installed in it. There's a printer interface, RS-232 interface. On this side, there's the power inlet for a 9-volt power adapter. Contrast for the display is just, the control is just here, and the on-off switch is just there. And underneath there's a removable lid where you can place a expansion ROM and some other kind of expansion in there. You've got the battery cover here for 4 AA batteries inside there. And then there's a memory on-off, battery memory backup on-off switch that has to be placed on, but they've put it here because when it goes into storage, they say you should really place it into the off position for going into long time storage. So if I power it on, it powers on and it shows a list of the applications and files which are available there. It says how much memory is free, and it's got date and time up at the top there. And to change date and time, you have to change the time dollar and date dollar variables within the basic application, basic program. And it's got copyright Microsoft up there because it's the Microsoft Basic, and also they did the interface for the applications as well. So if I adjust the contrast to the display so you can go up or down, and then so you can use the cursor keys to navigate around here, and you can select one of the applications. So save basic, it starts up with basic, and along here you've got a function key emblem. So if there's a label button here, if you press label, it shows what menu options are available for within basic. So you can look at F1 is to list the files, so that lists the files which are available on the system. F2 just brings up F2 just brings up the load thing, so you can then type in a file name. F3 does the save, so you can then type in the file name. F4, which I pressed before, was run, so that's a shortcut to do that. F5 is list, which I'll come back to in a second. I'll just go press F8, which is go back to menu. So all the applications, the F8 button will take you back to the menu. But if I load up one of the programs, so charset.ba, and hit enter, and then what it does is it runs it as soon as you select it, and all it does is, for this particular one, prints up the character set that's available, which is the ASCII character set. So if I label to bring up the menus again, so the list, which was the F5 button, which I didn't show properly last time, that will list the actual program itself. So it's just shortcuts to do some of the things within the basic. So if I go back to menu again, and so the first application we come to is text, and it's just a text editor. So you go in here and then you can type a file. I probably already named one called temp before, but then you just type away your file, and you can move the cursor key around and to edit things. And then there's a delete key as well. But even though it's a simple application, it's actually the basis of all the applications. So again, I'll press label and you can see the options. You've got copy and cut and select and things like that. Oh yeah, let's do a demonstration of selecting text. So if you press F7, and then you can use the cursor keys to select the text you want to copy, and then press F5. And then I can go down to the bottom of the text, and if I go paste, then well, there's a paste button, so that button there is dedicated for pasting, and it pastes in what I copied. So let's go back to the menu again, F8. Now telecom is for when you've got a modem. So if I hit enter, like I said, I don't have a modem in here. So what you would see is here's some options for taking a number from the phone book, or a number that you just type in and you can dial it. But I don't have that. I have stat, which tells me the status, which is that status up there. But if I press F3, it just show me again that status. And this is like a code, and it says in the manual what it means. And it means 8 bits. Can't remember what the other 8 is. No parity, 1 stop bit, and full duplex, I think it is. But I can't really demonstrate this at this time. I'll come back to this a bit later, because although not in this application, for a basic application, I'll transfer some files between here and the actual PC I've got. So the next application is address book, and what it does is it takes a text file which is ADDR. So where is that ADDR? There, ADRS.do, which is just a text file. So if I open that up, it'll open up in the text editor, and you can have a list of addresses in there. And so when I go into address here, the application, all it is a searching facility. So it uses that actual text file that I just showed you, and you can search on it here. So if I type W12 in there, and then actually F1 to find W12, and then it comes up with any lines that match what I just typed in. It will actually display them on the screen. And the application after that is schedule, and it's basically the same application, but it uses a different file. Which I think it might be the note file. Let's take a look. So if I press F1, so it's exactly the same stuff. I think I've put a list of computers in the actual text file associated with this, so you can search across that file. So it's brought back 3 things which are 128K. So if I go back to menu and then go back into, I'm pretty sure it's the note file which it uses. Yeah, there it is. So I've got the full list of all the computers I typed in. I just searched for the 128K, and it just pulled out those records. And so as I've been messing around with this, just reading through the manual and getting to know it a bit, I put a little basic game in here, which I remember when I back in the 80s, I went across a friend's house, and he had a VIC 20, only 4K computer, but he had a game called Blitz on it, and I loved that game. It's such a simple game, but I had to go back, and I think I programmed it on my Spectrum at the time. And this is kind of just an approximation of it. It's a little game that you can, but it shows how versatile the basic is on this actual machine. And you just bomb the houses away, and you've got to make it clear enough so that you can land on the ground. In the actual game, I think it just took random blocks out of the buildings, and you had to keep bombing them, but this is a limited screen, so there's not much I could actually do to actually emulate that, and it crashes if it hits a building. And then I can list this. Was it F4? I think. F5. So it's not a very big program. I think it was about 35 lines or something. But I just tried to make it as simple as possible so that it wasn't too big to actually do much, to actually type in. So that's the full program. And the AA batteries which are in it, 4 of them I think it is, and they last, I think it's about 20 hours. That's what they're specified to last. Battery technology has probably moved on, and they may, and a set of alkalines probably last a bit longer than that. And there's one other basic program which I'll show. It just shows plots on the display. So here you can see it plotting a sine wave across the display. It's not particularly fast. This is kind of the speed at which the basic runs. And it is, I think when I plotted the sine wave on my ZX81 emulator just recently, I think it kind of went at this kind of speed. Although on the ZX81, of course, you don't get the resolution. It was only in the blocky pixels that it was plotting them. But that just plots across the screen. So you could do a fair amount with it. And then at the end, I just do a couple of blocks. So I filled in block, and then another filled in block, which is in the opposite color at the end, and draw a line across the screen. A couple of videos ago, you'd have seen I made this device which converts RS-232 logic signals to TTL or CMOS logic signals. Because RS-232 has swings of voltage between a positive and a negative voltage, which is outside of the TTL standard, and so it needed to create this in order to convert to a UART device, which then plugs into a USB socket on my computer, on my laptop. So I made this to do the Amiga, but on the Amiga it's got a male connector on the back, so this female connector connects into it. But on the TRS-80 it's got a female connector on the back, so I had to make a cable which was male to male so that I could use this device on this computer. So all I've done is have a cable with 2 male connectors on, and it's a straight through cable. So normally RS-232 cables are crossover cables, so TX goes to RX and RX goes to TX, but because this device plugged directly into the back of my Amiga, the crossover occurs on this device, so I don't need a crossover cable. It's just a straight through cable. And I've had to take the cover off of this end because there's little tabs that stick out of the actual case, which prevent it going in the back of the computer. So just while I use it on this computer, I needed to take the case off of that end. And on the computer itself, I've had to make a basic program which I called xfer, and it lists the programs that I have available on the actual computer, and I can just type in the program name, and that will then send it to my laptop, which I'll demonstrate in a second. But just for now, I'll list the program. And so all it does is it lists the files on the computer, asks the user to enter a file name, then formats it in the format which is required for opening it. It will open up the actual file itself on one stream, and then it will open up the actual communications port, which you can use with an open statement as well, and you tell it what format to actually open the port as: 8 bits, no parity, 1 stop bit, and full duplex. And that opens on port 2, and then all I do is go through the actual reading of the program, display it on the local display, and send it to the serial port, and then continue until the end of file. And just close the ports at the end. So I've plugged in the cable between the two computers, my laptop and this computer. If I go to the transfer program and start it up, so I've got a list of all the programs on the screen, and I'm going to transfer the Blitz program. But I've saved a copy of the Blitz program as an ASCII file, because you need to save it as an ASCII file. You can't actually send the binary file, which is the basic file, that's best used to the terminal. So if I just type in the name, and it shows on the screen here what's being sent, and then on the terminal it's receiving the program over there as well. So finally, some of the accessories which I've got with it. So I've got the cassette lead, which plugs into the DIN connector on the computer, and then plugs into the earphone and microphone socket on the actual cassette recorder. And also there's like an automatic on and off switch which the other one plugs into, so it can start and stop the cassette recorder. I've got the original Tandy branded power supply, which comes with the actual computer itself, and a case for carrying the computer around with. Funnily enough, the power supply is branded Tandy, and in this case is branded Radio Shack. I've also got the box with it, which is branded Tandy again. And the label is sent from the Tandy Corporation to Croydon via Brighton. It's got the usual happy people on the packaging, like you get in the 80s.